Alright guys, so this video we're going to go through and connect our LED circuit that we've made in the previous stage and our LDR through to our breadboard. So I've removed all the other bits that we had, other than we've got a single ground wire to connect this rail through. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in a 5 volt that's actually going to go through onto these terminal blocks. So if we have a look at how these terminal blocks work, we've got these little openings on this side and some little screws on the top. So what those screws allow us to do is, as we loosen or tighten those up, you'll see we open or close on those wires. So I've got a flathead. As I release that, you can see it makes more opening there, and then as I close it down, it'll pinch down on my wires and hold them in place. So that's what I'm going to be using for these. So I want to be able to have, and I'm going to set up 3 on this side. If you look carefully at them, they'll all have a little slide that allows us to connect multiple together. So I'm going to go through and do that first. So then I can make sure that they're all facing the right way, and it keeps them a little bit neater. So then that's going to allow me to get 3 across on that side. I'm going to attach them. If you have a look, they are 2 gaps away. So I'm going to be using, if you're looking at the numbers on the side, 30, 28, 26, 24, 22 and 20 for those. So they're going to go through through there nice and easily. But what I want to be able to do is I need to attach those wires through to those rails. So I'm going to put those in the middle of this one. So I've got a rail below and a rail in front, so it's easier to bring these ones across behind it and these ones across here, because what we'll do here is the colors that we have similar, we will connect together. So this one here, I'm going to bring this little box here, and is it going to give me long enough to be able to get through? Maybe not. So I want to be able to get the ground through to that first one. So he's not far enough along, so I'm going to recut another wire to be able to attach through there. So we're going to go through and connect these terminal mounts with the colors that we need. So ground, G and D, is going to go through, and because of the length I've done, I'm going to take him through to that second one there. So that's going to be my ground connection. Push that in. I'm just going to square that up a little bit so he's out of the way and sitting flat. So there's my first one. I now need a red for the power, and that's going to be to that first one there if I put in this length right. So what I should be able to do now is I'm going to go from that one through to that closest one there. So he's now sitting, and I'm going to push that nice and flat so he's not going to get accidentally bumped out. But now I've got 2 points where I've got to be able to attach these wires through. So at the moment we can see I've got 2 blacks, so they're both my ground. So they're going to go into here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually twist those together, so it makes it easier to be able to attach them. So what I have at the moment is probably too deep to be able to go in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim a little bit off, because what I want to be able to do is when I push that in, let's loosen that off just a little bit, is I want that plastic to kind of be in line with the edge. So they're in nice and tight, sitting flush, and then I'm going to tighten that back up until it's firm, and then I give those a pull, and that's good. So that one there is right. So those 2 are sitting there, they're connected, and now I want to be able to add the next one. So this guy here, my red, wants to be able to go through, and I did that in the wrong one. Hope you guys noticed that. That would be a problem. So that one should be my red. But before I add those in, what might be easier is I'm going to get my next signal through. So the LED, the yellow wire, is going to go from D3 through, and let's say to this next one here. So I'm going to grab a wire and I'm going to attach those through. So just like the other, it doesn't really matter what color wire we use. I like to use the solid core where I get to choose the color, because it helps me remember what my wires are doing. So the wire of the color in terms of how it operates doesn't do anything, but for us to read it and recognize what we're doing, that's really important. So he goes in there. I made that a little bit too long, but that's going to be fine. Just square that up, keep it flat. And now I have that guy ready to go. So there's my yellow. Now what I'll find is I'll probably actually need to make that a bit smaller, because I've got other things that need to go on the other side. So if you ever do that, we can always identify how long it needs to be to about there. So I'm going to trim him down and then shorten that down, because by keeping the wires neat, it makes our life much easier when we have to add or remove wires later. So the needle nose can be really helpful when we need to be able to get them in the right spot. So now that's nice and flat in where I want it, and then my pink needs to be going from A0 through to that next one there. So I'm going to grab that next. Do that the right length. Pretty close. Maybe I'll move this one across because I've got a bit more length on there, so I don't have to recut the other one. So again, it doesn't matter which one we choose to use, just as long as we give ourselves and we know which connection we're making. So that's there. That's happy days. This guy should then fit nicely to the one next to him. So now A0 through, and he fits perfectly. Look at that. So now that's through. I've got my A0 through to there. I've got my D3 through to here, and I'm able to now connect those wires together. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add those terminal blocks, or the wires to the terminal blocks, and then in the next video we'll do some testing with the code to see how it works. So let's get this in. Twist the wires. Trim it down so it doesn't have any plastic sticking out, and I should be able to then slide that one in and fix in. Notice how I'm tightening it, the screw is going down, which is going to then be pushing it and holding it in place. Alright, so then I have my pink next, which is going to go in there. Just trim down a little bit. You don't want to have those little wires floating around, so let's just bring him up a little bit higher. Okay, that's better. And then tighten that up. Oh, and that didn't stay. That one looks a bit funny. Let's try that again. Just give him a little bit of a encouragement. and twist that again. Let's see if he wants to go in this time. Is that a bit better? He's sitting in. Now these guys are a little bit fiddly sometimes, but they're good for what we're trying to use them for. And I did the wrong one again, didn't I? This is why you got to pay attention to what you're doing, so you don't double up with your work. Alright. He slides in. Let's try and lock him back down. Okay, that's better. And then lucky last for this part. I'm going to trim him down a little bit. And that should, because I've already set that up nicely, allow me to tighten him up. Alright, so now that circuit is ready to go. I've got my grounds, my power, my two signals all wired through. So using the same color wires helps us check that we've got everything connected how we need it to be. Alright, so next step, we're going to do some testing with that.